America's been far worse off before. The Great Depression, serious economic hardships, actual starvation in parts of America. The British overwhelm him. They shoot him in the face. They bayonet him 6 times. When the Patriots found him an hour later, he was trying to reload. He lived for 18 more years.
What can people do?
They should go to their congressman's town hall meetings and get in their face about spending less, about cutting defense, about cutting their spending on everything. Cut money. Politicians will respond to people angry in their face at those town hall meetings. They will. Get angry about it. Heritage Foundation, those kind of organizations have lots of good material on reducing the size of government. Read up on that stuff and get in your congressman's face. Whether they're Republican or Democrat, they will understand angry voters because they're all afraid. They just want to be reelected.
I'm just curious on your opinion. What percentage of the United States do you think is going to act? And the reason I'm asking, hear me out. I brought up the Massoud interview earlier. We're sending $87 million a week to a terrorist organization. So we went to Vienna. We interviewed Massoud to get some insight into. We made a petition for people to sign. We're going to get it to Representative McCall out of Texas, chairman of the
House Foreign Affairs Committee.
Yes. At the time, 650,000 people had watched that interview, double that on audio. That's 1.2, 1.3 million, plus all of the clips, reels, posts, and shit that we did across all the platforms. We're probably talking about 5 to 6 million views of people who've seen that interview, who've seen, hey, this is how much money we're spending on funding terrorist organizations, and you and I are paying for it. We got 66,000 signatures out of 6 million people watching the content. So then I did a small post basically, expressing my concern and saying this is why nothing ever changes in this fucking country, because you're too lazy to get off your ass and sign a fucking petition. Now, we just had a discussion. Now that's up to 200-something thousand, and thanks to some people that got behind me, like our friend Tucker Carlson, who reposted the tweet. But and there is an argument. Some people are saying, what is a petition going to do? That's not going to do anything. Well, I think it is going to do something, because it's 200-something thousand people who are basically calling McCall out to bring Massoud in too.
I think there's cynicism of how imperial Washington has become and unresponsive. If you think we haven't added, and I hate to say this, so there's 435 congressmen. And it used to be, we haven't changed that number in almost 110 years. Because it used to be, and that was when the country was a third or less the size. So you had fewer people per congressional district, so you could get in the face and be much more, and make that member much more responsive. But now, for this, it's about 5 to 600,000 people per congressional district. They just have to stitch together a few inane constituencies and tell the rest of them to pound sand. One of the reforms that should probably be considered, on top of obviously spending reforms, is to increase the number of congressmen. I hate to say that because that would be more politicians, but maybe grow the number of politicians, keep the salary pool the same, so they just get paid less staff, and make them much more responsive to their constituents at home. Because the House is supposed to be responsive every 2 years. The Senate is supposed to be the more steady, deliberative body, but elected by the state legislatures. That's, if we get back to those things that the founders intended, that's some of the structural problems that have let us go this far off track. But again, if you're pissed off with your congressman, go to a town hall meeting. get in their face.
Can you please help me understand how more congressmen is going to help?
Because it'd be more responsive to because if we went to half the number of congressmen, so now you're at a couple million people. It's easier. The more direct elected that member is, the more responsive they are to the mood of the country at the time. Just like local elections can be, when people get pissed off locally, they turn out and vote for their mayor because it's going to affect the stop signs or whether the streets are clean or their local police.
What do you think it's going to take to get more Americans involved in doing that?
They have to get past affluenza, right? Things are so good. They're so comfortable, so much wealth in America that it's easy, right? We have an obesity epidemic, right? 70+% of people are seriously overweight. Enough. I travel a lot. It is embarrassing to see how obese Americans are. Obviously, Americans are walking around in Europe or Asia or South America. Like, come on, people, put the sugar down. Enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get off the affluenza.
Yeah. I want to end this on a positive note. What?
It's been, yes, easy.
Good. Go.
It's always been much worse. We've gone through, America's been far worse off before. Okay. Think about American Civil War. 600,000 people dead. Even after World War I, there was millions of people died of Spanish flu, actual flu that killed lots of people, killed them, not the nonsense that was COVID. The Great Depression, serious economic hardships, actual starvation in parts of America. So yeah, we've got some issues now, but it's fixable.
Have we been up against anything like this before?
Well, this is a fundamental defining issue of how we view ourselves as citizens in a government. We talked about before, the socialist or the communist paradigm is really about control and subjecting yourself to a government elite, a party elite, determining what is best for your life, versus the paradigm of freedom, of individual liberty and choice, for that you make those changes to organize your life in the way that you want to choose. And that clash has been ongoing for millennia. And I would always choose the side of freedom.
Thank you for sharing that. Last question. If Trump gets elected, do you have a spot in his administration?
I hope not. I would love to serve, but there's lots of ways to serve. Maybe not with a full-time government job.
Fair enough.
Let me end with a motivating story. My favorite story from the American Revolution, Samuel Whitmore. He was 78 years old in April of 1775. He's a military veteran of the French and Indian Wars. And he hears the British soldiers marching by to go attack his buddies, the Patriots, at Lexington and Concord. Well, Samuel Whitmore, at 78 years old, goes and guns himself up, loads his two pistols and his musket, and he goes out and he single-handedly attacks the British marching by. He kills 3 British soldiers. He draws his sword, which doesn't need reloading, and he attacks. The British overwhelm him. They shoot him in the face. They bayonet him 6 times. When the Patriots found him an hour later, he was trying to reload. He lived for 18 more years.
Wow.
So it's a great example. However old you are never too old to be out of the fight.
No matter where you're watching Shawn Ryan Show from, if you get anything out of this, please like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, share this everywhere you possibly can. And if you're feeling extra generous, please leave us a review on Apple and Spotify podcasts.